Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Israeli opposition MPs shouted "shame, shame" and walked out of parliament after the highly controversial judicial bill was passed. The law removes the power of the Supreme Court to overrule government actions it considers unreasonable. It is the first in a series of bitterly contested reforms aimed at curbing the power of the courts to be approved. The planning reforms have triggered some of the biggest protests in Israel's history, with opponents warning they imperil Israel as a democracy. Hours before the final vote, police used water cannon and arrested protesters outside Israel's parliament in Jerusalem. The controversial reforms have polarized Israel, triggering one of the most serious domestic crises in the country's history. Spain has entered a phase of political uncertainty that could see the country return to the polls in just a few months. The leaders of Spain's two main political parties, on opposite sides of the spectrum, both claimed victory, with the election failing to produce a decisive winner. The Conservative People's Party won the most seats, but fell short of a parliamentary majority, even with the support of the far-right Vox party. PP leader Alberto Núñez Feijóo and his rival, Socialist Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez, have begun negotiations to try to head off a fresh vote, which might take place by the end of 2023. Russia has accused Ukraine of being behind a drone attack that damaged at least 2 buildings in the capital Moscow early on Monday morning. The Russian Defense Ministry said 2 drones were suppressed and crashed, adding that there were no casualties. Russia's state-owned TASS news agency reported that 1 drone fell close to the Defense Ministry. At least 15 people have been killed and thousands evacuated after wildfires broke out across Algeria. Outbreaks of 97 wildfires were recorded across 16 provinces, affecting forests, crops and farmland. Around 7,500 firefighters were working to bring the blazes under control. 26 people were also injured and 1,500 evacuated from their homes. Tour operators have begun flying home holidaymakers as wildfires raged on the Greek island of Rhodes, with the threat of further fires high in almost every region of the country. Fires burning since Wednesday on Rhodes forced the evacuation of 19,000 people over the weekend as an inferno reached coastal resorts on the island's southeast. A wildfire also forced evacuations from the island of Corfu. Tourists spent the night on the airport floor, waiting for repatriation flights, the first of which came overnight. Rhodes and Corfu are among Greece's top destinations for tourists, mainly from Britain and Germany.
Well, close up it looked like hell on earth, to be honest. And, there's a lot of fire.
Yeah, so it was just carnage. But at least we weren't actually near the worst bits. It was pretty terrible, though.
And Twitter has replaced its famous bird logo with a simple X, with the brand being projected onto its offices in San Francisco. The company had already changed its name to X Corp. It reflects Elon Musk's desire to turn Twitter into a super app, like China's WeChat, which offers payments, shopping and other services. A leading social media analyst has questioned the reasoning behind a Twitter rebrand, saying many issues the social media app has faced over recent months will remain.
I think in changing the logo from Twitter to something different, and in the X logo, it is completely different. There's no cute animal. It's a different color scheme. It's really going to have a totally different appeal. And I think they're throwing the baby out of the bathwater here, and they're losing ultimately a lot of credibility that Twitter has built up over the last, 10, 15 years. And then the last few months, really, what they should have been doing, I think, is just rewinding rather than rebuilding. And that's kind of what we're seeing now with the new rebrand.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.